just like to point out that in any resolution, I think the important conclusion is what this is asking for. And I point to the last page, where the prayer is, now therefore be it resolved that the members of Congress be convened for the purpose of proposing amendments to or revision of the Constitution upon a vote of 3/4 of all its members, and that upon its being convened shall adopt its rules of procedures that shall govern its proceedings. So I think that is where the answer lies. That is the intention of
Thank you, Congressman Antonio. I think that's very clear. Now, can we hear the objection of Congressman Rodriguez?
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I object to the motion to approve 1109 on substantive and procedural grounds. Substantively, even you don't need to go to the intention. On the four letters or the four corners of the resolution, only the House is now trying to convene. This is not a joint resolution. It says a resolution calling upon the members of Congress to convene. We are taking it upon ourselves to convene without even having the Senate have its own joint resolution to convene with us. That will be a violation of the constitutional powers that is given to both Congress. Father Bernas and Dean Justice Mendoza stated clearly that we cannot have a convening of a Constituent Assembly only by one House. It has to be both Houses. It is very clear. Second, if the Honorable Gentleman from Cebu says that the intention is a joint assembly, again, it's very clear from the four corners of the resolution that he talks about voting jointly and not separately. In other words, you add together the numbers of congressmen and senators. It is here on page 4 of the resolution. That again, according to Dean Bernas and Justice Mendoza, can never happen. That there can only be an addition and not voting separately. Two distinguished members, constitutional experts, Mr. Chairman. Very clearly, therefore, on two counts, this resolution is unconstitutional. Again, because it does not take into account the joint action of the Senate. And number two, it do not have a voting separately. According to Dean Bernas, this is a fifth mode. The fourth mode is allowable because it is going to be by Congress, and yet it will be voting separately and 3/4 vote. And so therefore, substantively, Mr. Chairman, clearly, this resolution is unconstitutional, illegal, and not feasible under the constitutional zoo.
Mr. Chairman, explain the objection.
No, I am just going to the procedural now, Mr. Chairman. Procedurally, Mr. Chairman, it is flawed. Our resolution to approve it is flawed because we will be abdicating our powers as a committee. It is very clear that under Rule 35 of the rules of the House, under Section 34, committees shall undertake measures to ensure that public notices and announcements regarding the conduct of any meeting shall be issued. Next, committees like ours shall undertake measures and establish systems to ensure that constituencies, sectors and groups whose welfare and interests are directly affected by the measures to be discussed are able to participate in these meetings or public hearings. We have not invited the PhilConsult. We have not invited the farmers group, especially when we talk about possible amendments on being able to give land to the foreigners. We have not invited the political parties because this particular resolution may be the gateway to amend the Constitution from presidential to parliamentary. In other words, this kind of a measure of calling a constituent assembly requires that all sectors be heard. And now we're going to approve it without hearing groups, sectors, and constituencies which have to be heard in accordance with the rules of the House. Therefore, for these reasons of substantive and procedural grounds, I am objecting, and I hope our members will see in this light that it is both unconstitutional and it is flawed procedurally. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Congressman Rodriguez. Congressman Dumogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The motion is very simple. We are already discussing on the merits of resolution 1109, which is entirely not the motion on the to be decided. Whatever discussion here, I think we have made up already our minds. You cannot convince. So I call for the question.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
All those discussions will be said on the floor.
Mr. Chairman,
There is a motion beyond the
Mr. Chairman,
question.
Point of order. Sir, we have a list of those who would like
It has been moved and seconded that we approve resolution 1109.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and there were pending objections, and you have recognized several members to actually, for the record,
Wala
these
kang
are
creative sentence
objections.
ko eh. Wala kang creative. And there were several objections raised after that. Now there is a motion to go to the previous question, which is to ask who are in favor of the motion, considering that there are objections. All those in favor of the motion, please roll call vote or raise your hand. All those in favor, please raise the right hand.
We call for a roll call vote, Mr. Chairman. We call for a roll call vote, Mr. Chairman. Roll call vote, we have done that before. I call for roll call vote.
Okay, let's go to a roll call.
Roll call vote to bring who are in favor and against, Mr. Chairman. Should be on record.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, this is on the motion of Congressman Dumogan. Mr. Chairman, there was a motion by Congressman Dumogan that
Only for this.
for the previous
question.
Exactly, Mr. Chairman. So what are we voting on? Are we voting on the motion by Congressman Dumogan? Because I clearly objected to the motion of Congressman Dumogan.
We are going back to the previous question. This is the motion of Congressman Dilanggaran.
Mr. Chairman, without hearing the objections of those who raised their objections. I just want to make that clear, Mr. Chairman.
We did. We called on all those who raised their hands to object.